The text goes like this. Saulo, please, can you help us read it out?
Mhm. The American public venerates medical researchers because the researchers make frequent discoveries of tremendous humanitarian consequences. However, the daily routines of scientists are largely made up of result verification and statistical analysis, making their occupation seem blank space.
Perfect. Thank you, Saulo. So you see, people, in this text, there's only one blank, and if we start looking for what this blank, if it is an adjective, which clearly is, this adjective refers to something or someone, and since this adjective modifies this noun phrase, the occupation of someone seems to be something fascinating, quotidian, recalcitrant, etc. But this refers to the occupation of a group of people. So we understand that this group of people is the only or the main plural noun or noun phrase that is mentioned by the beginning of the statement, right? Medical researchers. So this refers to the occupation of American medical researchers. So we might say that the medical researchers occupation is our target. The blank should describe or modify this. Okay, so that's the first part. Now, let's occupy ourselves finding the clue. What's the clue? So, the clue is information that makes the answer predictable. In other words, that makes this adjective predictable. The adjective modifying medical researcher's occupation. Notice that medical researchers are said to make frequent discoveries of tremendous humanitarian consequence. Notice how we could label their occupation, because they researchers occupy themselves, doing research, and research leads to discoveries or inventions, right? So we might say that the discoveries these medical researchers make have a direct relationship with their occupation, because it's the fruit or the yield of their occupation. And it is called of tremendous humanitarian consequence. So we also have some other phrase that labels the occupation of medical researchers. In the next clause, that is after the semicolon, after consequence, we see the expression daily routines, largely made up, blah, 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 etc. So this occupation, it's considered important, right? Because it says tremendous humanitarian consequence. But then it's called something that practically, sounds very contrasting. To call an occupation very meaningful of tremendous humanitarian consequence, and at the same time calling this occupation routine-like, then it's interesting. We understand both of them apply to the occupation of medical researchers, but we see that this expression, however, after the semicolon, okay, these two together, mark a different line, okay, of orientation between the two parts of the statement. On one hand, the first part of the statement says one thing about the occupation of medical researchers. But on the other hand, because of the however, the second part seems to confirm something about that same occupation of medical researchers, which should sound like opposite or contrasting to what the first part of the statement mentioned. So, since here our clue is this expression, tremendous humanitarian consequence, and we have the expression, however, as our pivot. So we understand that it should be something like opposite, and at the same time, it should be something that would align with the expression daily routine. So the feeling that is our prediction most likely opposes the expression tremendous consequence. So it should be something like ordinary, very common, something that is done every day, right? We might think of something like this: ordinary, common, done every day. And now we can see that among the answer choices, because that's our last step, after we have some kind of prediction, something that would sound logical, right? We see the answer choices, and then we can try and identify one of those words that would mean similarly to ordinary or common or done every day. Now, fascinating, hardly, right? What about quotidian? No, I don't know what quotidian means. Okay, let's leave it for later on. Recalcitrant, totally defying of established authority or established standards. No, hardly. This can mean ordinary. Experimental, nothing to do with the ordinary or common or done every day. Amorphous. So even if I don't know exactly what quotidian means, then by the process of elimination, I can assume that this must be the correct choice, because the other ones by no means can get close to the meaning of ordinary or common or done every day. By the way, quotidian is like a good cognate of Spanish cotidiano, right? So then we probably can guess that this is indeed the correct answer choice. Okay? So the idea is, when you have your clue, don't just look for something that aligns with the clue immediately. Be careful about the pivot. The pivot is this expression that tells you that the clue opposes the feeling in meaning. In this particular example, if it was a different kind of pivot, then probably you should look for an expression that aligns with a clue. But as it was the case, however, indicates contrast. So the adjective by the end of the statement should be something like this.